Congresswoman Lee, you are now recognized for your testimony.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chairwoman Maloney and members and my colleagues for having this very important hearing and for inviting me to join this panel. Now, as co-chair of the Pro-Choice Caucus, as a Black woman, a woman born in Texas, these state-level abortion bans like Texas SB 8 are deadly. I know what this means for Black people and brown people and people with low incomes. Today I share for the first time publicly a very difficult personal story, hoping that it will help destigmatize accessing abortion care. I'm sharing my story even though I truly believe it is personal and really nobody's business, and certainly not the business of politicians. But I'm compelled to speak out because of the real risks of the clock being turned back to those days before Roe versus Wade, to the days when I was a teenager and had a back alley abortion in Mexico. I was raised in El Paso, Texas, and attended Catholic school, so of course, growing up, sex education was non-existent. Adolescence, sexual and reproductive health were not discussed in a meaningful way, and because of that, I honestly wasn't sure how you got pregnant. Most of what I learned about sex and relationships was from pages of magazines and hearsay from my peers. I lived in a loving, extended family household with my wonderful parents and grandparents who wanted me to make straight A's, practice the piano day and night, and of course, stay away from boys. Now, after grammar school, we moved to California, and later, when I just turned 16, I missed my period. I was confused, afraid, and unsure, not knowing if I was pregnant or not. I didn't know what to do. Now, in those days, mind you, this is in the mid-1960s, women and girls were told if you didn't have a period, you should take quinine pills, sit in a tub of water, or use a coat hanger if nothing else worked. My mother noticed I became introverted and very quiet, so she asked me what was going on with me. At that point, I told her everything. I told her that I maybe not could be pregnant. She responded with love. She was supportive and sympathetic and took me to the doctor who confirmed I was pregnant. Now, my mother asked me if I wanted to get an abortion. She didn't demand or force me, but understood that this was my personal decision and a choice that I needed to make, and she would support me regardless. Now, mind you, I was the first Black cheerleader in my high school, got very good grades, was active in my church, and a member of the Honor Society, and an accomplished pianist. In fact, I won 2 music scholarships. So I felt embarrassed and thought if anyone found out, my life would be destroyed. It was so important for me to have someone I trusted to help me with this decision. So once I made this decision prayerfully, one of my mother's best friends in El Paso helped me access the abortion I could not get in California. When my mother told her what was going on, she told my mother to send me to her in El Paso because she knew of a good, competent, and compassionate doctor, yes, who had a back alley clinic in Mexico. She was kind and loving, took me to Mexico to have a DNC abortion procedure. Remember, I just turned 16. Now, I was one of the lucky ones, Madam Chair. A lot of girls and women in my generation didn't make it. They died from unsafe abortions. In the 1960s, unsafe septic abortions were the primary killer of African-American women. My personal experience shaped my beliefs to fight for people's reproductive freedom, and when I was elected to the California legislature, one of the first bills I authored and was signed into law was to enhance penalties on people who were blocking access to abortion clinics for those seeking care. It also shaped much of my work in Congress. My lack of sexual education was why I authored H.R. 3312, the Real Education and Access to Healthy Youth Act, which provides comprehensive sex ed to young people in schools, which I hope all of you will co-sponsor. Now, in 1973, Roe versus Wade was decided in the Supreme Court, which affirmed the right to an abortion. Shortly after Roe, I was a congressional staffer for the late, our beloved Congressman Ron Dellums. Henry Hyde introduced the Hyde Amendment, blocking insurance coverage for abortion for low-income and poor people. And he said, I certainly would like to prevent, if I could legally, anybody having an abortion, a rich woman, a middle-class woman, or a poor woman. And then he went on to say, unfortunately, the only vehicle available is the Medicaid bill. The Hyde Amendment from its inception was racist and discriminatory and aimed at people with low incomes and people of color. And so I'm proud to be the lead co-sponsor of the EACH Act, and this year, for the first time, we fought hard to remove the Hyde Amendment from the 22 House Appropriations Bill. Now today, on the 45th anniversary of the Hyde Amendment's passage, I think about people like Rosie Jimenez, a Latina who died because the Hyde Amendment denied her the ability to have a safe abortion because her insurance would not cover it. This is why I share my story with all of you today. I have 2 wonderful sons, 5 grandchildren. I don't want them or anyone to experience a world without access to the full range of reproductive services, including abortions. I want them and every person to be able to make their own decisions about their bodies and their lives. Last week, I was proud to have voted for the Women's Health Protection Act, led by our brilliant colleague, Congresswoman Judy Chu. But we can't stop there. We continue to witness states attempting to take us back to the days I know so well. We cannot and will not return to those days before Roe, and we'll be watching the Supreme Court decisions. Yes, members, this is my story, as hard as it is to talk about it. I hope that regardless of your personal views, it will help you understand that people deserve a right to make their own reproductive decisions about their lives, their bodies, and their futures. Thank you, and I yield back.
Thank you. Thank you very much.